Oh, shit. Here we go again.
They say that America is divided politically, and we kind of agree. There's the dumb, and then there's us.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that too harsh for the little snowflakes?
This is Right, Left, and Center. This is Right, Left, and Center. No matter what's going on in today's news, politics, social, environment, culture, we're talking about it unabashedly. Real, raw, direct, and funny. Let's rock. This is Right, Left, and Center. And this is your host, Will Jackson.
I'm back. Did you miss me? I missed you. I'll tell you what, man, that 1 year celebration was awesome. I'm sorry if you didn't miss it, go back. If you missed it, go back to that episode. Well, today we're going to talk about quite a few things. And I'm going to tell you something, if you are squirmish or you have like that little oomph in your body that you just don't want to hear what I got to say because it's too controversial, hey, I'm going to tell you something. Sorry about your luck. We about to drop it today. We're going to talk about gun laws. We're going to talk about the president's dinner. The correspondence dinner. We're going to talk about South Carolina. We're going to talk about Montana and Nebraska. We're going to talk about these racist ass people out here. We just going to keep it real. And we're going to keep it raw. And that's what we're going to do. That's what it's about. We're also going to talk about the LBG community. And we also going to talk about how the Republicans are trying to gaslight America. We're going to talk about the Supreme Court. Oh, we got a big list happening here. That's what happens when your favorite podcast host takes a week off. I feel good to be back. I'm rested. Oh, it's on now, baby. Let's get it.
Have you been looking for a podcast that takes you beyond the headlines? A show that challenges you. A show that's real, raw, and unapologetic. Then you've found your new home. Right, Left, and Center.
Right, Left, and Center.
News, the environment, immigration, politics, the criminal justice system, and everything in between. Join Will Jackson every week, your personal guide to understand the week's news, the world, and how America shapes it. Listen everywhere podcasts are available. You're listening to Left, Right, and Center, your audio guide to help you understand the week's news, the world, and how America shapes it. Now, back to your host, Will Jackson.
All right, first on the docket. The very first thing on this docket. We're going to talk about South Carolina. Now, I'm not that guy, but I'm only going to speak to what's in front of me. And you should really think about this because, see here, there's no way that you can possibly mitigate the jackassery that is happening throughout this country. There's just simply no way. Whether it be guns, whether it be oversight, whether it be creating positive laws that will impact in a positive way to good citizens and affect those who are not good citizens. But that's not what's happening. It just simply isn't. You know, it's like trying to understand this. So I was watching this action movie, this pretty good action movie. And it was raining out. And the car comes around the corner chasing another car, and the skid marks come on, and I'm like, wait a minute, it's raining. How do you get like the big screech when it's raining? All right, cool. All right, no problem. It's a movie. So then I turn around, and so it was sunny the following day, and there was another car chase. But this time they were on a dirt road. How do you get a skid mark or that big screech from a dirt road? From chasing one car to the next. See, that's stuff that just that's inflated in the activity. Right? And if you don't believe me, pay attention to it when you watch your next action movie. Nevertheless, but the point is this. What these white Republicans, and I'm not that guy. Everybody knows my grandfather is white. Everybody knows I have a mixed family. That is not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to get different races, hating different races. What I'm speaking to is what's in front of me. When you look at the state house in Tennessee, you look at the state house in Nebraska, you look at the state house in Texas, you look at the state house in Ohio, you look at the state house in South Carolina, and even in Georgia. It's majority Republican white men. That's fact. And so, for whatever reason, these men are upset because, they can't have it their way. Bitch, this ain't Burger King. You can't have it your way. It's just fact. So, the first on the docket will be South Carolina abortion. And so we're going to talk about the abortion piece and listen to the great representative Katrina Shealy. And if I misspelled or mispronounced that, I do apologize. But let's hear what she has to say about all this jackassery.
If you want to believe that God is wanting you to push a bill through with no exception that kills mothers and ruins the lives of children, lets mothers bring home babies to bury them, then I think you're miscommunicating with God. Or maybe you're just not communicating with him at all. I know we disagree on a lot of issues, but hearing you talk about menstrual cycles, conception, how you know when your egg is fertilized or having a baby, I got to tell you, it really disgusts me. I really don't think there are but 5 of us that sit in this chamber that can even speak on those issues honestly. I don't even believe your wives would agree that you know how it feels.
Here's the thing. She said a key word, which I'm like, you go, girl. She said, you don't have a uterus. If you don't have a uterus, why are you making a big deal about something you shouldn't be concerned with? Hear me out on this. If you don't know how, and I'm just going to make it simple for these white Republicans who have the majority. So let me make this simple for you. If you have a 2023 Cadillac and you just bought it and you're driving down the street and all of a sudden smoke come out of the engine and it breaks down. That's what happened. It breaks down. You will probably call a tow truck, someone who is, I don't know, an expert in towing your vehicle and towing it to someone or a dealership that is an expert in working on that engine, because you want that car to run properly. Now, by all means, I'm not saying that women are like cars, but they are the Cadillac of our society. That's just how it is. So, to my point, you wouldn't allow anyone who didn't have the credentials to operate on your vehicle that you pay $60,000, $70,000 for. And I'm not equating that to a woman, because no man owns a woman. I'm just driving home a point. Just like the other senator, Sandra Sen, drove home this point.
Abortion laws have always been, each and every one of them, about control. It's always about control, plain and simple. And in the Senate, the males all have control. We, the women, have not asked for, as the senator from Orangeburg pointed out yesterday, nor do we want your protection. We don't need it. There is not a single thing that I can do when women such as me are insulted except to make sure that you get an earful. And you need to blame this earful on following that leader blindly off the cliff for the third time on abortion. And I'm sure you're getting an earful, if you're being honest, from your wives, from your children, from your grandchildren. You cannot tell me that you are not. I know you are.
And that's fact. See, I have daughters, I have granddaughters, and right now they are in peril. You know, this seems like it should be a short subject, but it's not. It can't be. See, it's about women whose lives are in jeopardy. I actually played a clip in my 1-year anniversary episode of the 2 black women in Florida. Now you have a white woman in Texas who is actually suing Texas about their abortion laws and about the metapristone pill. And so here you have this woman in Texas who nearly died. And then she goes to Congress and speaks in front of committee. And guess who's missing at that committee? Ted Cruz. And she said, I'm not going to quote, but I'm going to give you the airplay to it. Basically, she said, I wish Ted Cruz ass was sitting in here so he can hear how his laws and how he support these laws almost killed me. See, when it doesn't affect these white men, they want to control something. But when it does affect them, then they start speaking with a level of sensibility. I have my own views, but what my views are is not something that you can take out of context, because I tell you exactly, who I am and where I am, where I'm from, and how I'm gonna come at you. And how I'm coming at you is this. A woman's mindset and body is sacred. The maturity level of a woman far exceeds the maturity level of a man. And if you want to call that discriminatory, then so be it. It is, because it's fact. See, no being is superior than another being, so therefore you should not be creating laws that singles out a certain being within our society, which is women. These women that are out here, from doctors to lawyers to politicians to judges to city council to city mayors to vice presidencies to chairwomen of organizations and big business. These women continually have to fight for not only what's right, but what they deserve and what they feel that the female society deserve. And and what they deserve is a little bit more damn respect than what you white Republicans are doing. See, here's the thing. You're empowering these women to turn against you. Just like you smile in their face and you walk away, they're smiling in your face and they're going directly to the ballot. 2024, I guarantee you, you Republicans have really screwed yourselves. You screwed yourselves in the state, the local government. You screwed yourselves in the state government. You screwed yourself in the federal government. These women are not taking this lightly. And I guarantee you, and I support all of them when they turn around and vote against you. It's just, I mean, we're not talking women like Marjorie Taylor Greene, and we don't want that type of craziness and that type of vote. What we want is women to go out 2024 and vote these fuckers out. That's just that simple. Vote them out. I mean, they think they know what's in your heart. They think they know how you feel. They think they need to protect you. And to hear that word, to hear someone say to a woman, well, I'm only doing this to protect you. That disgusts me. A woman doesn't need a man's protection. What a woman needs is a man's support. And that is something that these fuckers can't seem to do. More after this.
Have you been looking for a podcast that takes you beyond the headlines? A show that challenges you. A show that's real, raw, and unapologetic. Then you've found your new home. Right, left, and center.
Right, left, and center.
News, the environment, immigration, politics, the criminal justice system, and everything in between. Join Will Jackson every week, your personal guide to understand the week's news, the world, and how America shapes it. Listen everywhere podcasts are available. You're listening to Left, Right, and Center, your audio guide to help you understand the week's news, the world, and how America shapes it. Now, back to your host, Will Jackson.
Yep. That's what them fuckers are doing. Yap. South Carolina, you got enough to worry about. It's just that simple. Here's why I say. You have a state senator in flip-flop, a.k.a. flip-flop Lindsey Graham, who will, and I'm predicting this, and I don't know for a fact, I'm just predicting this, and throughout my cast, I've been predicting a lot of good stuff. But Lindsey Graham is going to be a part of that Fulton County indictment. He's going to be part of that indictment because he didn't have any damn reason to go from South Carolina to Georgia to question their election without any facts. So let's stop South Carolina dealing with this crap and vote these fuckers out of office. Just vote them out. Just get rid of them. Put them on blast. That's what you need to do. Because if you don't want this to happen in the future, you need to change what's happening right now, today, that started in the past. The woman in Texas, here's the thing. The Republicans are traveling down a dangerous path. They're upsetting the female base within their districts that have elected them to be in office. And this is throughout the country, whether it be state or federal. They have upset the base, and I'm here to promote that base to continue to fight for their rights, to fight the bullshitty and the jackassery that's going on. Speaking of jackassery, Montana, what the hell are you guys doing? Are you trying to take a page out of Tennessee's book? Well, you see how well that went. I mean, why would you even bother to silence someone that represents 11,000 people? Okay, why are you silencing this woman? Women should not be silenced. No one should be silenced because you don't agree with what's going on. And for those of you who have been living under a rock and don't know what I'm talking about the honorable lawmaker Zoe Zephyr from Montana. Here's a open transgender woman who is fighting to prevent these laws in Montana that affects transgender children and women. Here's the bottom line, is that, first of all, the LBG community is not trying to go into any school and groom a child. They're not trying to groom a child through a show. They're not pedophiles. They're not rapists. They have a community that is a strong community in the big city and rural areas that you would not even believe. See, my opinion doesn't matter, nor should yours. And once again, if you look on TV and you see how they pan, you might see one or two black folk in there, and then the rest of it is white men who are the majority of the Montana House. And you pan and you look, and you'll see that this is not something that I'm making up. If you don't believe me, pull up the video, you'll see. And then you have to ask yourself, this woman is a courageous woman who is speaking out because of the level of suicides that are happening in the LBG community and the youth. These children are dying, and many folks who have been in the LBG community are committing suicides. Why? Because they're continually being bullied. They're not treated as citizens of this great United States. The same great United States that many of us fought for, us veterans, which we're going to talk about that. See, we fought, and our predecessors fought to make sure that this country is not the type of country that falls under the authoritarianism of the world, like some of these other countries where there's a flight advisory at. That's what we fought for. For you to have your beliefs as your own. See, the LBG community, and I did a little research here, the LBG community is not organizing to create havoc within schools and the communities. Now you do have white militia groups like the Proud Boys and the 5th, 3rd, 23rd, or whatever they call themselves in Texas, who are planning quietly to create havoc, want to bomb schools and children, stuff like that. There was a documentary that came out, you have to look it up, but about this guy white guy who embedded himself into the 5th, 3rd Boys, or wherever the hell they call themselves in Texas, and turned around and handed them on a silver platter no, I'm sorry, it wasn't Texas. It was in Missouri. I do believe it was in Missouri. Just outside of Wichita. And so this guy handed them up on the silver platter. And the FBI got him. Because they were planning to bomb a home or apartment building where a bunch of Somalis who migrated, beautiful people who migrated from their country because of the oppression, only to come to the United States to be threatened by a bunch of white militia, racist people. What's the difference? Tell me, what's the difference in that happening and you white politicians who believe in certain things? What's the difference? Listen to Zoe Zephyr.
Of those constituents, of my community, and of democracy itself. Last week, I spoke on the governor's amendments to Senate Bill 99, which banned gender-affirming care. This was a bill that was one of many targeting the LGBTQ community in Montana. This legislature has systematically attacked that community. We have seen bills targeting our art forms, our books, our history, and our healthcare. And I rose up in defense of my community that day, speaking to harms that these bills bring and that I have firsthand experience knowing about. I have had friends who have taken their lives because of these bills. I have fielded calls from families in Montana, including one family whose trans teenager attempted to take her life while watching a hearing on one of the anti-trans bills. And in that hearing, our caucus pleaded with the Republican chair of the Judiciary Committee to not allow certain testimony, to keep decorum. And we were told a lot of people have a lot of opinions on these things. So when I rose up and said, there is blood on your hands, I was not being hyperbolic. I was speaking to the real consequences of the votes that we as legislators take in this body. And when the speaker asks me to apologize, what he is, on behalf of decorum, what he is really asking me to do is be silent when my community is facing bills that get us killed. He is asking me to be complicit in this legislature's eradication of our community, and I refuse to do so, and I will always refuse to do so. I would also say that if you use decorum to silence people who hold you accountable, then in the name of all you are doing is using decorum as a tool of oppression. Additionally, when the speaker disallowed me to speak, what he was doing is taking away the voices of the 11,000 Montanans who elected me to speak on their behalf. And when I continued to not be recognized, what my constituents in my community did is came here and said, that is our voice in this body. Let her speak. Let her speak. And when the speaker gavelled down the people demanding that democracy work, demanding that their representative be heard, when he gavelled down, what he was doing is driving a nail in the coffin of democracy. but you cannot kill democracy that easily. And that is why they kept chanting, "Let her speak." And why I raised my microphone to amplify their voices, to make sure that the people who elected me here are heard. And that when this body seeks to pass bills that harm our community, that get us killed, that this body is held accountable for those actions. I'm not sure what comes next here, but what I will say is I will do what I have always done. I will rise in support of my community. I will take the hard and moral choice and stand up in defense of the people who elected me to do so and the people in our communities. And I will say I'm grateful for those who stood up in defense of democracy on Monday. And I will also say that I hear everyone. I hear my constituents. I hear your constituents.
1 minute.
Who say thank you for standing up. And while there were comments about safety, I would say that the protest was peaceful. And I would also say that when we talk safety, we think about the safety that our bills bring or don't bring. Because you say there was staff endangered, but I know in this building, in the quiet hallways when it's just me, the staff come up to me and they say thank you. They say thank you for defending our community because they have loved ones who these bills attack, who these bills hurt. And I will always stand up for them. And I will always, no matter what happens today, stand up for democracy in the state of Montana. Thank you.
You're listening to Left, Right, and Center, your audio guide to help you understand the week's news, the world, and how America shapes it. Now, back to your host, Will Jackson.
She's a good soul. A lot of good souls out there. And so here's the thing. So now let's go towards the LBG community. You have a voice. You have a right. Don't squander it. Vote these fuckers out of office. They're doing things to you that is just unreal. And as I said earlier, that the LBG community, and as I did my research, do a lot of great things as an organization. Things that people don't talk about. They're involved in a lot of good things, and when they do their drag shows, the donations that go to different organizations that benefit from what they do, they benefit the lives of those who are unfortunate. And yet, these performers and these politicians are ostracized in society, and many of you do the same thing when you find out that a man was a woman was a man. I mean, you cannot judge that book by its cover. You need to judge that individual by the content of their character. And that has been said many times. Character is what's up, and character is not what's happening. Speaking of character, let's look towards Justice Robert Thomas and his shenanigans, who's a buddy of a billionaire. And it seems that if you're a billionaire, you can have in your pocket something that you want to see. Here's the thing about billionaires. They find a way to buy shit that they don't have. And there's one billionaire who seems to have a Supreme Court justice in his pocket. Justice Thomas. Many people are calling for his resignation. I mean, how dumb can you be? What's done in the dark comes to light. I mean, that's just fact. In fact, listen to this.
Clarence Thomas must resign.
I was a civil servant.
And if he doesn't, well, if there was ever a case to impeach a Supreme Court justice, this is it. For years, Thomas failed to disclose flights on private jets, super yacht trips, and stays at resorts he received as gifts from a Republican megadonor. Even though the Supreme Court has no legally binding code of ethics, and justices remain among the least accountable people in our government, legal experts claim that Thomas violated federal disclosure laws when he failed to report the free travel he was gifted. But at the very least, he's violated the public's trust and corruptly exploited his position of power to subsidize a life of luxury. Enough is enough. Supreme Court justices clearly can't be trusted to police themselves, and Chief Justice Roberts has shown little interest in holding justices to account for numerous conflicts of interest. The Supreme Court is facing a serious legitimacy crisis, and failing to hold Thomas accountable will only make it worse. Clarence Thomas must resign.
I was a civil servant.
And if he doesn't, well, if there was ever a case to impeach a Supreme Court justice, this is it. For years, Thomas failed to disclose flights on private jets, super yacht trips, and stays at resorts.
And I had to loop that to replay that because I really wanted to sink in. If any of us at our jobs did something that was unethical situation, was involved in an unethical situation, we will lose our jobs. We will lose our jobs. So why is it that these politicians and these judges are not held accountable, especially the Supreme Court? See, the thing is like 76% of America right now has no faith in the Supreme Court. Have no faith in the Supreme Court. Just simply don't. Just because of some of this stuff that's going on now. See, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. You cannot tell us that we need to be ethical and you sit there and talk about ethics every day and sit on a court that is supposed to be ethical, but yet you're not disclosing all the gifts from a billionaire to us. See, here's the misconception. Politicians work for us. We don't work for them. And the Supreme Court we don't work for the Supreme Court. They work for us. In fact, they're one of the branches that is separated from the other branches of government. The autonomy here is that they can do things that we cannot do. And we're paying for their salaries to be on the Supreme Court. I mean, this guy's had problems since, Condoleezza Rice. He got his wife, who is a Trumper, who sits there and who got involved in the January 6th situation, sending emails and texts. And now this guy is sitting here looking at certain cases that this billionaire has interest in, and not to mention you're doing things you should not do. Bitch, you ain't sitting in the parking lot of Walmart because you enjoy Walmart with your RV. I mean, come on, man. That was a lie. What you were doing was you were taking yacht trips and first class trips on a private plane, you and your ugly ass wife. And your treacherous and un-American wife to these different places. And you probably had a mistress. Don't know that for a fact. I'm just speaking my right to free speech. What is the oversight? So here's the thing. Here's oversight. Congress, senators have requested Senator Durbin, I think it was, who requested John Roberts to come and speak about the activities at the Supreme Court. Let me see here. Yeah, we have another Supreme Court justice that seems to feel that ethics doesn't apply to him. That's Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh. He also has some assault claims against him. And for history's sake, and in history, the senior Supreme Court justice would always go to Congress and testify. See, you were appointed by congressional figures who got their information from their constituents. So therefore, if there's a senator who confirmed you, and that senator is working for the people, and the people is paying your check, take your ass to Congress and testify. Not a hard thing to do. Simply not a hard thing to do. More after this. I hoped everyone watched the Correspondents' Dinner last night. It was funny as all get out. Actually, I have a montage here. I'm going to play for you guys to give you a good laugh, just in case you might have missed it. Check this out.
This is my first 2 years in office. I'll talk for 10 minutes, take 0 questions, and cheerfully walk away.
Happy to be here. Oh, real quick, Mr. President, I think you left some of your classified documents up here. You can get to them. Yeah, no, don't give them to him. I'll put them in a safe place. He don't know where to keep them.
You say I'm ancient. I say I'm wise. You say I'm over the hill. Don Lemon would say that's a man in his prime.
Don Lemon released a statement saying he got fired from CNN. Then CNN released a statement saying that they offered Don a meeting. They had to part ways because Don Lemon can't even accurately report a story about Don Lemon. Yes, Don Lemon was a diva, and he said a couple of women are raggedy in the face, but that's a promotion at Fox News.
Vaccinated the nation, transformed the economy, earned historic legislative victories and midterm results, but the job isn't finished. I mean, it is finished for Tucker Carlson.
The untouchable Tucker Carlson is out of a job. Now, okay, some people celebrate it. But to Tucker's staff, I want you to know that I know what you're feeling. I work at The Daily Show, so I too have been blindsided by the sudden departure of the host of a fake news program.
Last year, your favorite Fox News reporters were able to attend because they were fully vaccinated and boosted. This year, with that $787 million settlement, they're here because they couldn't say no to a free meal.
I've been watching and looking around all night. Y'all look good. You dress nice. You got the nice threads on. You got the jewelry glistening. Look like everybody got a little piece of that settlement money from Fox News.
MSNBC owned by NBC Universal. Fox News owned by Dominion Voting Systems.
I love Dominion. Matter of fact, let me just say right now, my favorite voting machine is Dominion voting machines. When I go to the polls, I make sure it is a Dominion machine that I use. If your election needs the truth, put Dominion in your booth.
I'd call Fox honest, fair, and truthful. But then I could be sued for defamation.
Can we just all be honest and just say that the Trump arrest didn't hit like we thought it was going to hit? We're so so desensitized to scandals now. That Trump arrest, it didn't do what I thought it was going to do. The Trump arrest was like a pot brownie you ate 4 hours ago. And you're like, do I feel justice? This don't feel like justice. Let me try one of them Georgia arraignment brownies. Maybe that'll hit.
We added 12 million jobs. That's just counting the lawyers that defended the president.
Can we stop with the grooming stuff? Can you stop talking about that? Drag queens are not at a school to groom your kids. Stop it. And even if they were, most of them kids gonna get shot at school. It ain't no problem. Don't grown pass legislation. Like they boobs gonna bother me. I'm like Mitch McConnell. I ain't got no soul.
That was funny as hell. Oh my goodness. Final words right after this.
Have you been looking for a podcast that takes you beyond the headlines? A show that challenges you. A show that's real, raw, and unapologetic. Then you've found your new home. Right, left, and center.
Right, left, and center.
News, the environment, immigration, politics, the criminal justice system, and everything in between. Join Will Jackson every week, your personal guide to understand the week's news, the world, and how America shapes it. Listen everywhere podcasts are available. You're listening to Left, Right, and Center, your audio guide to help you understand the week's news, the world, and how America shapes it. Now, back to your host, Will Jackson.
I'll tell you, that White House dinner was funny as all get out. If you needed a good laugh, I'm going to tell you, I applaud President Biden because he was funny as all get out. I mean, he was funnier than the comedian. I mean, it's just that simple. I mean, he was funnier. So, here's the thing that's not funny. This is according to Equality Florida. This is a group in Florida that basically watchdog Florida, and they issued a travel advisory. I'll put the link and the travel advisory, the notes that I have, which I kind of cut them down, but I'll put the full advisory through a link in the description as well. See, what they've said was the Equity of Florida took the extraordinary steps in issuing a travel advisory, warning the risks posed to health, safety, freedom of those who's considering short-term or long-term travel or relocation to the state of Florida, following the passage of laws that is hostile to the LGBTQ community, restricted access to reproductive health, repeal of gun law and safety, format racial prejudice, and the attack on public education by banning books, censoring curriculum. That's your travel advisory. Let me break some of it down. Assault on the medical freedom. Florida Board of Medicine have adopted policies banning and accessing to life-saving medical care for transgender youth, and the Agency of Health and Care Administration has eliminated Medicaid coverage for transgender adults accessing that medical care, which means, let's say you're from Wisconsin or Michigan or Ohio or Pennsylvania, and you are a transgender individual, and you have Medicare, and you go to Florida for vacation, which I don't call a sunny state anymore, and you turn around and you have a medical issue, that means you're going to have to pay out of pocket. Yes. Your Medicaid will not be covered. How jacked up is that? Just simply will not be covered. Also, a part of that Florida issue advisory from the tribal advisory from the Equity Florida group, assault on academic freedom. The Florida legislation has sought to strip diversity, equality, and inclusion, which is called DEI, programs from colleges and universities that help LGBTQ and minority students to thrive. Mr. Ron DeSantis, you signed these bills, and yet you want to be the president of these great United States? You're a chump, and those who support you are bitches. Just saying. Another part of that advisory is censorship, and let me go back. Let me slide back, and Ron DeSantis wants to make sure that white children and white college students don't understand what happened as far as slavery and the inequality that Florida was a part of, the segregation that Florida was a part of. How do you make life better if not learning from the history? I don't get it. So let me go back to the censorship. And this is of the LGBT community. Florida has legislated and sought to strip diversity, equality, inclusion, as I mentioned previously, programs from colleges and universities that have helped LGBT community and minority students to thrive. That's crazy. I'm actually flipping the page here. So here's another reason why they're putting an advisory to Florida. And this is a group from Florida. Assault on arts, entertainment, sports, and participation. Florida has passed a ban on transgender women and girls from participating in school sports consistent with their gender identity. Lawmakers are poised to pass a restriction on certain live drag performances, stage shows, and local pride celebrations, limiting parents' ability to determine what content may be suitable for their families. You're not there to raise that child. You don't pay child support, lawmakers, to these people's children. And also keep in mind that the LBG community, when they do these parades and they do these shows, they donate the money to worthy groups, established groups. Oh, did I mention that the legislation is the majority is white men? And I'm not that guy. Assault on businesses. DeSantis has recently signed a bill that restricted businesses from providing diversity and inclusion training to their employees, which is a blatant attempt to shut the businesses out and telling them what they can and cannot do, and to prevent them from training their employees to do it better, to be better and prepare for adverse workplace and their customer base, which I assume that is targeting Disney, which is one of the largest companies in the world, the most favorite company in the world. See, DeSantis is really making you Florida folks look bad. He's not going to have a chance to make America look bad because there's a lot of other states that won't tolerate the shit that you guys are tolerating in Florida. Now, I've got a lot of listeners in Florida that actually have a level of sensibility, and I thank you. But I'm asking you to actually reach out to those idiots and those jackasses that believe that some taking books out of school, not talking about black history, not allowing colleges to cover black history, or, the list goes on. And I'm still going to call for Disney to uproot. So if Disney tear everything down and move itself to a sunnier state like Hawaii, then my assumption is that Florida will have a real bad economy. Why? Because you motherfuckers, excuse my language, but you motherfuckers in Florida who support DeSantis is about to affect the state economy. Because, see, believe it or not, Disney is bigger than the state of Florida. And they can show Ron DeSantis that they're bigger than him. This is one company that speaks out on the rights of not only black folk, but the rights for women and the rights for LBG community. The only thing that really pisses me off is there's people out there that are upset that Disney made Ariel a black woman. Yeah, I said it. That's the diversity of the community. One of my listeners, favorite listeners, number one listener, sent me a email to let me know that some of her coworkers are simply mad because Ariel is now black and not white. Oh my Lanta. Here's my message. And if you want to play this for them, here's my message to these ladies. Bitches, get a life. You trifling ass hoes. You racist ass women. Kiss my black ass. Or half a black ass. And then you can kiss the white half of my ass. That's just fact. The thing is that you are the governor and the state legislators of Florida and some of you fuckers in Ohio are upset because Ariel, a character from Disney, is black in a movie. Disney, I love you. My children watched you. Their children are watching you. And you stand up for what you believe is right. And you continue to train your people. You continue to have diversity classes and make sure that people understand that you are not a biased. I'm sorry. Let me stop being politically correct. You're not a racist company. But Florida is a racist government. That's just truth. And Disney, I really want you. And I hope Disney just decide to say, hey, you know what? Whatever contracts or whatever we got going on at the end of the year, Whenever we're not renewing, we're closing shop up here and we're moving somewhere else. We're going to move to a more friendlier state. Hint, hint, Hawaii. That's the new sunshine state as far as I'm concerned. Go to Hawaii. Get away from Florida. That's what I'm calling for. Leave Florida. And then let's see how Ron DeSantis and his cronies and them white nationalists in the House feel about not having that tax income that they so generally enjoy every year. Let's play hangman. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. Because I'm going to tell you something, Florida. Disney is really feeding your state. And they're doing more in your state than you actually believe. Some of you may say, well, I don't see it. Well, guess what? Because you're not looking. They do a lot of good for the communities within the state of Florida. And I researched that, and that's fact. You guys need to either, one, promote for Disney to leave your state, or two, vote to get these people out of here and get rid of DeSantis, who is actually, here's the thing. These are the people I feel that needs to be impeached. Kavanaugh, Thomas, DeSantis. They need to be impeached from their offices. Here's another reason why you do not go to Florida. Efforts to format racial prejudice. Florida has passed a bill that would limit the honest teaching of history and systematic racism in schools. The state passed another that restricted voting access for people of color and currently considering additional voting restrictions. You better go get them. I need more ice. No, I'm good. Oh my Lanta, that was delicious. Rocking that 110, what you doing? Here's another reason why you have a travel advisory to Florida. That I advise you do not go to Florida. Appealing of gun safety laws. The passage of the daily permit less carry makes Floridians less safe and signals that the reversal of the process of progress made for Paul's and Parkland. Coupled with the state's infamous stand your ground law, permits less carry threatens to exacerbate Florida's violent crime rate at the time of the state's homicide, which is ranked 20th in the nation, exceeding both California and California and New York. And to add to that, that proves a point when our favorite Ohio, let me speak to you directly, Ohio, our favorite senator, jackass Jim Jordan from the Duck District, decides to take his monkey ass to New York and talk about violent crimes, all because Bragg will not listen to him. Now, it's true that the Judiciary Committee tends to do off-site hearings. I mean, that's just what they do. But then to promote one because you're mad and you can't do nothing about it and go to New York, by the way, I don't know if you guys seen that when Marjorie Taylor Greene tried to speak. They wrestled her whole ass up out of there because I told you from the beginning. New York is not gonna fuck around with that bullshit that's happening outside their state. You can't bring that to New York. They shut it down. They shut that trick down within 5 minutes of her actually trying to speak. And her supporters dispersed because they seen this crowd coming. Yeah, she can't bring that shit to New York. She can't. She can't. New York, you the bomb. California, you the bomb. I'm just saying. So here's the conclusion of their advisory, and I'm not going to go through all of it, and this is why I went over an hour. This is very important so everyone understands. Taken in their totality, Florida state laws and policies targeting the basic freedom and rights pose a serious risk to the health and safety of those traveling to the state. We regret that the attacks have already led to too many to flee the state by visitors from around the world. It is with great sadness the equality of Florida has had to take an extraordinary step for responding to the inquiries by issuing an official advisory warning about the risk of traveling to the state of Florida. Quote and unquote. Folks, here's what I have to say in my final thought. Let's play Hangman. Hangman. Let's hang, man. Hangman. You get the picture? You understand? We have too many folks out there, and you know who you are, whether you're in Canton, Ohio, Perry, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, New York State, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Charlotte, Crystal City, Virginia, Maryland, Baltimore, Florida, we know where you stand, Georgia, Alabama. See, we need to take focus, or drive focus to all this crap that's going on. And we need to understand that we're not going to play that game. They need to understand we're not going to play that game. And they also need to understand that 2024 is right around the corner. The Republicans are playing a dangerous game. A game in which they won't win. The Supreme Court, members of the Supreme Court, is playing a dangerous game. A game that they will not win. Because what's going to happen is this. State legislators, Republicans, will be replaced. State senators, Republicans. State national representatives of Congress will be replaced. Senators of Congress will be replaced, and that's going to put us in a better position to look at the Supreme Court as it stands and vote them out or create laws that will help our society to move forward. Until next week, knuckleheads.
You've been listening to Right, Left, and Center. Our passion is to talk about today's news, politics, the environment, culture, and anything else that helps shape the news in America. Our 2022 season was so strong, we had to come back and smack 2023 right in the mouth. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And continue to listen on iHeartRadio, Spotify, or anywhere you download your podcasts. See you next time on Right, Left, and Center.